everybody. Welcome to another channeling video where my hoopy moopy goopy shoopy, her name is Butter, and that's her species, is a shoopy. She's just a boopy. You know. And I just came back from a death cafe, and if you don't know what a death cafe is, I don't have my elevator pitch for a death cafe memorized, so I can't tell you doing full justice to what it is. But basically, in my understanding experience, a death cafe is a place where people, strangers from society, can get together and talk about death. And I love that because if you know me, you know that I'm a woman of liberating taboos and shining lights straight on them. I break silence, I tell the truth, I feel everything. I don't like cowardice, I don't like hiding, I don't like lies, I don't like masks. I hate all of that. And death is one of those things. Hi, my little singer. That there's not much. Look at her little cream foot, her little creamy toe. It's just perfectly dipped in cream. She's my hot fudge sundae cat. Oh. Anyway, death is one of those things that is considered taboo in Western culture. And death cafes are places where we break those taboos, and naturally, consequentially, at least the things that I'm inspired to share, follow suit with that breaking taboo theme, MO, whatever. And I find myself, after every single death cafe, so super duper duper charged. So I'm a speaker, right? That is one of the facets of my self, my personality, my identity, my passion, my calling, purpose. I love speaking. I love storytelling. I love telling the truth. And if you read my writing and if you watch my videos, you know that. And in the death cafes, that part of me just turns on so hot and so bright. And I don't know if anyone has this experience. It's like, when you're at a seminar or a workshop or an event and you're about to share something personal or meaningful, or even if you don't share, you feel a surge of heat go pour through you and light up your core and your gut, and it says, oh my god, yes, I resonate with this, I have to share something, I need to say something, or this is so alive for me, this is so real for me, and it's just so intense. And I feel that in certain spaces where I am inspired and touched and connected, and my parts of my soul and parts of my heart are inspired to speak up, to share, whatever. So I just went to this death cafe and it just lit me up so hot and so bright, and I wanted to take that energy home and pour it into a channel. And my energy is honestly already kind of fading, so this might be a quieter channel than before, and the energy has to go somewhere. It was just so inspiring. But when I was on my way home, I wanted to share this because it needed some place to go. It needs to come out. Someone needs to hear it. So I'm just going to jump straight into the channeling, and I'm also going to pull some cards to confirm or amplify certain messages or themes or whatever. So, set the stage was what I heard when I was driving on my way home. And that is a message specifically for people who have either something that they have identified and know that they need to talk about or do or pursue, or something that's just been wispy in the background, in the back of your mind, like a feather floating down from the sky. Subtle, but something that keeps reoccurring in the landscape of your psyche, psychology, mind, soul, emotions, body, whatever, your heart. But there's something that you can't ignore, that keeps coming up, that's communicating with you, and you know what this is. If this is your message, you know exactly what this is for you. And so when I heard set the stage, what that was saying to me, it was saying, tell the people with the things that they need outlet for, connection for, mirroring for, validation for, communion with, tell those people that it's time to set the stage, and tell them how to set the stage and what that means. It's going to be subtly different for everyone. But the intention and the energy behind the instruction, set the stage, is give this part of yourself, the opposite of denial, give this part of yourself space, visibility, acknowledgement, and room. And that is something that you can give any part of yourself. And just because other people might witness you doing that, or speaking out, or sharing, or being who you are, doesn't mean that they're going to be able to be a good audience, per se. But it does mean that you need to give yourself permission to create a holistic, a closed circuit in your life, in your energy field, in your heart and your emotions, around the thing that keeps coming up. And maybe this is a thought or a desire that you've held in your mind for years, maybe for weeks, maybe for days, maybe it just came up today. But what I'm talking to is this, it's a thought or an energy or maybe an impulse that keeps coming up, and maybe you feel like you feel frustrated because you don't know how to deal with it, you don't know how to let it out, or it's like maybe no matter what you do, it doesn't kind of go away and it's like bothering you, and maybe it's like pulling your energy a little bit, or you feel like, you just don't know what to do with it, or you feel frazzled or confused. I will say this. You actually know what to do. You actually know what you want to do. You just are either not listening to yourself, or you can't hear. So you need to listen to what that thing is saying. And a lot of the time, a lot of people are afraid to do that because unfortunately, acknowledging the truth and listening to the truth sometimes means facing and confronting things that we're afraid to. Because if we acknowledge the truth of what's really going on, our world, relationships, environments, circumstances, routines, jobs, etc., behaviors, self-concepts might not be able to hold, witness, relieve, or release the parts of us that are begging and pushing for release. So my role here is to guide you, to remind you that even if your world feels too small for all of you, there are ways that you can literally step into spaciousness so that you can express yourself. And when I say express yourself, I don't necessarily mean post your life story on YouTube like I do. I don't mean anything necessarily. When I say express yourself, I mean externalize, express this energy that is inside of you, that is contained. Go from containing it and allowing it to influence your physiology, your breath, your muscle tone, your body and self. Allow it to go from influencing those things to being free and to being something outside of you that you exercise, express. A lot of people talk about going to the gym to burn off steam or to release anger or heat or whatever, and it's kind of the same thing. When I talk about expression, it's just putting your energy into something, and I think that most people know what I mean when I say You are just a golden clam crab. She's just such an octopus. You're such a little cherry in a can. Oh. Yeah. Come back anytime. Shop's always open for more fuel. Gotta get her hairs off of my mouth. You know how that goes if you have cats or a dog or something hairy. You know. Anyway. So yeah, set the stage. Some practical examples of what that might be would be to have a conversation with someone. For some people, there might actually be a conversation that you need to have. For some people, there is a conversation that you imagine having, but you're not able to have it. So in that case, have it with yourself. Speak it into a voice memo. Share it with a therapist. Share it with a friend. Find somebody else telling it in a book. Look for the story or the wisdom that you need mirrored back to you, you know? So this new thing is coming up right now, a new message. And it's about mirroring and isolation. And a lot of people, I think, who are drawn to my channel and me in general, and who I am meant to support, there is an experience that a lot of us have of, isolation. And what defines isolation versus connection? What is the link between the two? The missing. How do I put that into words? What is the link that turns isolation into connection? That's what I mean to say. And I think there are a few things, and I think I think some of them are visibility, acknowledgement, mirroring, validation, embodiment is a big one. I think a lot of people wait for permission to kind of be who they are or say what they want to say, because being the kind of person that you want to be or that you dream of can be scary, because it means, being brave and risking insecurity or judgment or whatever. Where am I going with this? I gotta recompose myself. I'm kind of getting off the rail a little bit here. Getting off my rocker. So, I apologize. My mind was kind of going in a million different directions. I think there's a part of me that's trying to speak to people who maybe are not ready to hear my message. And sometimes I get into this, thing where I try to just explain things. But the people that this is meant for are going to resonate, and I don't need to control any outcomes or worry about anything. So essentially, you're going to know exactly who you are, because this is going to resonate, and you're going to feel inspired to finally say the thing, to do the thing. Yes, Mama. Come here. I think she wants some water. But I'm going to pull some cards if you want to be a part of this, but I need to finish up my video, my sweet girl. You can speak if you need to, but I'm going to be here, okay? I'm going to be here doing my video. Okay, so let's see what wants to come out for those who are ready to receive the messages. That could be another thing too. You might be ready to move into, and there's a bit of grief around this as well, that could be that you're ready to move into a phase in your life where we have this kind of split energy in line with what I'm talking about, where you're maybe about to step into a role or an energy or just something in your life where you are becoming a version of yourself that maybe the certain things around you can't sustain or hold or recognize anymore. And it's like you're about to be, burning. I don't know if I can show this naked lady on YouTube, but I think I've been showing my cards on YouTube. I haven't had a problem. My channel's not that popular. Anyway, please don't report me. Don't do that. Don't flag this video. Just don't. Okay, yeah. Anyway, yada yada. Let's keep going. This one to come out too. We have the Four of Cups. 7 of Wands. Okay, so Yeah, interesting. There's this energy of like you could be in a stage in your life or entering a stage in your life where you are ebbing and flowing in this polarity of apathy, disillusionment, rest, quiet, and passion, feeling your spine glowing with heat, strength, vigor, boundary setting, etc. This is kind of like sticking up for yourself or sticking up for something or advocacy energy. And this is kind of an opposite energy in a way. It's literally the motif that I imagine when I think of the Four of Cups is a glassy lake or a still lake and someone just kind of sitting in still water. It's still. It's warm, it's cozy, it's nourishing, but it's still, and it's like emotional kind of holding or rest or containment or, things like this. And it's almost like this just makes me think of that of the lull that a certain part of you is feeling, because that part of you is maybe feeling a little empty or waiting for my honey. I'm still making my video. I'll come tend to your. She wants to drink out of the faucet. I'm just gonna hold on a second. Oh man, so sorry. I'm just gonna interrupt myself there. I feel like there's this energy of sadness that's coming through, and it's a little heavy, and it's like I can relate to this personally, but it's also a channel for whoever's watching this. You're moving on to bigger and better things. Something about catching, the word catch. Not everyone's going to catch what you're putting down. Not everyone is able to catch what you are able to throw. You can catch a lot. Something about a catch-all. Things don't slip over your head. You register everything. You register subtleties that a lot of people miss. And you're designed to work in those areas, to influence those areas, to speak to those areas that other people don't see. And there is grief and sadness and a bit of isolation in that, because in some rooms you are the only one who sees what you see. And your words are not enough to relay the experiences, the truths that you have lived, that have gifted you the ability to be able to speak about them from an embodied place. And that's what I'm feeling. It's a little somber. The Hierophant, yeah, you're meant to you're a teacher, but you're a leader by example. You are a leader. You embody wisdom that not a lot of other people around you maybe have. And so that it's a part of your process, your journey. But I want to see, where are you meant to share, and how will you experience that reciprocity? Where is your reciprocity? Where is your feeling of being met the way that you're able to meet people? Where is your relief? Where is your break? What does that look like? You have the Knight of Pentacles. You could find a sense of relief from this isolation that I'm talking about through a project, a creative. You know what that is? That it's clear. It's coming clear. You are being reminded and encouraged to continue working on your path. Literally, keep chipping away at your dreams. There are going to be days where the only thing meaningful, exciting, worthwhile is you in your private world toiling away on your projects, your tasks, your gifts, your missions, etc. I had a moment today. I don't know if this person that I'm going to mention will be watching this video, and if you are, thank you for being brave and saying hi. We have the Hierophant again on the bottom of the deck. But I was having a moment today, and this kind of just brings it full circle. This is another message that I wanted to share today. But I was sitting in a cafe and I was working on my videos. By the time this posts, I'm filming this today on November 3rd, but I'm posting these like weeks, 1 week at a time, just to give my channel some consistency and some rhythm. So I feel less pressure with my creativity to like produce on a certain time, but I like show up when I feel like it, and then I schedule it on my YouTube so that I have a rhythm, and that can sustain my longer term goals. So this is just going to be released when it's the right time, and I trust that it will reach the people who it needs to reach at the right time. So I don't need to get it out immediately. But anyway, I was at the cafe and I was working on the vignettes that have been coming out on my channel, the like short 1, 2, 3 minute ones, with the ocean footage. And those vignettes are just audio visual versions, like mashups of a Substack piece that I wrote and published recently. And yeah, I'm a visionary, I'm a creative, I'm a storyteller, I'm an artist, and I want to inspire people and get out and express myself and get out my messages in ways that feel cathartic for me to express, and that give a stage and a platform to my art, my film, my voice, my writing, my editing, etc., things like this. And so I was working on those vignettes, and in the past like 2 weeks, I have established somewhat of a creative rhythm that I am carrying with me into this next kind of, I want to say, for the rest of my life. I'm being more intentional about creating a rhythm that I can sustain, because I'm a creative person and I don't work for anybody but myself, and I was gifted the time and energy and skills and gifts and vision to create rather than to work for some organization or something else, whatever. I have the space, I have the freedom to serve you in this way, to make these videos, to make my art, to tell my stories, to write, to be present in the world. And I do not take that for granted. And so for the longest time, having that much freedom and this much creative vision and energy was always really difficult to balance, because it was more than I knew what to do with. And a lot of the time I never had, mentors or guides or containers or structures that kind of told me how to where to put my energy and how to channel it and how to express it. Kind of like what I was sharing in the beginning of this video. So, I'm on this journey, if you didn't know already, looking for a home, permanent home, and figuring out what that looks like and what that means to me and where on earth it is. And in the process, there's only so much I can do at once, right? I need to commit to certain seasons, certain projects, certain spaces for certain time periods, to see and to actually give myself the lived experience to find out whether or not this is a place for me. And within that, there are like sub explorations of life that I'm exploring, such as the creative rhythms that I'm exploring, and the communities and the types of conversations and events, and all these different things. Like, what is relevant to my life? What rhythms and patterns and behaviors and habits are applicable to the life that I dream of and that I want, and that actually sustain me and nurture me? And coming into this video, I driving home from the Death Cafe, I was like clocking it, like, Death Cafe, well, this Death Cafe specifically is a space that activates my voice, and it turns me the F on in regards to speaking and channeling my wisdom and my messages and my stories. It activates me so much. You see my little vein popping out? That's my vitality, that's my chi, it's my life force, it's my excitement, and it all just comes to a head when I'm at these cafes. So that's one example of a structure, a foundation, a rhythm, a routine that brings me to life. And I'm here building my life after losing so much and creating it out of what, feels like nothing, but it's really just many different things scattered all over the place that I'm coalescing and gathering and creating something out of. So, I have been more intentional about developing and establishing like a creative rhythm. And so what I've been doing was I wrote down all of my different visions and dreams and projects that I have, and I like meditated and journaled on the projects that I want to create and the purpose and legacy behind those things that I want to leave, and the impact that I want to have. And I kept showing up for it. It thinks that I'm doing one of these. That hasn't happened in a while, but I've been showing up for that process every day for a little while now. And I came to identify a basic creative rhythm that kind of encapsulates my whole journey, my whole life with creativity. And on a literal, down-to-earth, three-dimensional scale, and on a more cyclical, bigger scale kind of theme. So one of the things that I'm doing while I'm here in this temporary, home rental is I'm figuring out what my creative rhythm looks like. So coming back full circle to this, this card came out to answer my question of what does receiving what you give look like. And I can speak for myself. I feel like I give more than I receive a lot of the time, which I don't think that's fully true. But when it comes to specifically relationships and emotional output and just like my ability to witness and be present with certain emotional depths, I feel like I am able to give more of that than I feel like I'm able to receive. And it's not any slight on like other people. It's just like the way that I'm wired. Like I feel one of the things that I've struggled with in my life is like feeling like my emotional needs are, met, and really just feeling seen. That's what it is. It's feeling seen. And I think part of the reason that is a struggle is because I've been through, things that so many people can't even imagine. So what I'm longing for is just this felt sense of like somebody else being able to feel me. And I was also deprived of that when I was younger. So I'm used to lacking that. And so I use my adversity to serve people, to be here, to speak, whatever. And I have a prayer and a wish to receive what I put out. And I had, coming back, this is so all over the place, so thank you for bearing with me. I had a moment today at the cafe when I was showing up for my creative rhythms to develop my work, my offerings, whatever, where someone literally approached me when I was in the middle of patiently, committedly ushering forward my creative visions. I was just reading Lord of the Wild and Fertile Land. When I was tending the garden of my creative dreams, someone literally came up to me and they saw that I was editing a video, and because I had my my video editing software open, and they were like, do you have a YouTube, whatever, I saw your thing, and I was like, yeah, and I shared it with them, and he looked it up and I think I'm forgetting some details, and then I shared a little bit about like what I create, and I was like, I like to inspire people with encouraging messages, I do readings, whatever. And he walked away and then came back and was like, I think he said something like, I'm just, want to be honest, I came here looking for a book, but he was sharing a little bit about how he was going through a transition, and he asked if I had any words of wisdom for him. And I wanted to hear more about his, experience, because I wanted to be able to respond in a meaningful, personal way. And And it just, again, if you're watching this, thank you. You were a God-sent angel in disguise. You know, that moment confirmed for me that I'm designed, and this is for you too. This is for you too. This is a message for you too, for anyone who resonates with this. When you serve God, and when I say serve God, I don't mean act in some dogmatic blind way. When I say serve God, I mean serve your God. Serve your relationship to the divine. What characteristics, values, qualities, traits do you resonate most with in this life? What brings you a sense of purpose? What makes you wake up in the morning and have an experience and say, I'm so glad that I'm alive right now because this means so much to me? And what skills and gifts and impulses do you have inside of you? Not that you have to force, but what do you desire to do? What do you desire to do? What arouses your senses, your desires to do that serves those values? To me, that is one of the languages of God. God does not awaken things in you. God does not place desires in your heart, mind, or body in vain. Here comes the heat. Here comes the heat. My throat is opening up and it's getting hoarse and it's drying out a little bit from the heat. This is a spiritual thing. This is an energetic thing. This is what happens when the energy flows. You can hear it. And it's a feeling. It's just we're opening up. God doesn't put your desires in your mind, body, heart, spirit in vain. So show up and serve God by pouring your energy into what it is that you value and what you want to see. And instead of grasping tightly to insecure, God is going to deliver you. God is going to provide for you. All of this is just like, I'm sorry, I don't have the perfectly formulated words for this yet, but my message today ultimately is, if you are longing to receive something, share that thing, give that thing. Be in that thing, and it is that simple. That doesn't mean override your needs and push yourself to exhaustion. It means devote yourself, commit yourself to a path, to a value set, to a skill set, to your gifts, to your desires. Show up, crack away, chip away at your dream project, at that thing in the back of your mind that your intuition or God keeps telling you to do. You're a musician and you've been sitting on releasing a song or releasing an album. Do it. Do it. You're a writer and you're sitting on releasing a chapter of your book or creating a book. Set the time aside to do it. You keep getting a nudge to adopt that one cat at the shelter, and you know it's time for a cat, and you can, you have the responsibility, the resources to take care of that cat. It's part of your purpose, part of your path. Do it. I'm just making up examples here. Don't take this literally, but take it as an example and encouragement and like a push from me to you. Show up for your dreams. Show up for them. It is so terrifying to do that sometimes. You know why? Because there is a space, there is a gap between you right now and the version of you that you want. Your desires are showing you how to become what you want and who you want to be. And when you show up and you chip away, you are going to face all of your fears. There's no getting around that. There's no avoiding that. You're going to face your fears, but you can face them putting your energy into something that means anything at all to you, or you can stay in your comfort zone, you can stay in your familiarity zone, and you can put your dreams aside. But this moment healed something in me. Like, thank you, God for this story and for my privilege to transmit this to whoever's watching this. What God healed in me today, and God showed me this through this young man who approached me so, like, humbly, with so much humility. Like, do you know how brave it is? Do you know how brave it is and how unusual it is to find, like, a young person of all people walk up to someone random and ask them about what they're doing and ask them humbly for words of wisdom? That is so unusual. That is so beautiful and so rare. And for me specifically, that's exactly the kind of interaction that gives my life purpose and meaning. So thank you again to this person. And what that interaction set in stone for me was that the way for me to receive fulfillment and meaning and sustenance in life is to keep showing the F up for my freaking dreams. And I used to be a person who forced things and chased because I think it was a way for me to keep control or to pretend that I had control when most of my life is just a series of, like, losing control and having my autonomy and sovereignty stolen from me. I mean, you can check out my previous videos of stories of the abuses that I've survived. I'm an abuse survivor, and a lot of abuse survivors cope by finding ways to control their environments. And there's only so much that you can control. You can control yourself to a certain extent. But I realized that I subconsciously was holding on to a lot of tension around fear of, losing control, because I've been through so much pain and abandonment and neglect. And I used to think, if I just show up differently, or if I just did more, if I just changed the way that I was, here or there, then maybe I would have a better outcome. Maybe I would attract better people. But fuck that, because I'm just gonna say it. It's not your responsibility for attracting bad people. It's not your fault that someone came into your life and hurt you. It is not your freaking fault. I just want to literally, like, shoot that lie in the face and stomp on it, bury it in the ground, because it's one that I wrestled with for a while, because in neo-spiritual culture, a lot of teachers like to victim blame people. It is not my freaking responsibility for choosing my one of the worst things that people would say to me to try to soften my pain was, oh, you chose your mother before you were born. It's like, I did not choose for her to threaten to kill me that one day when we were driving. I did not choose to fear losing my life. I did not choose to be abandoned. I did not choose to be unmothered. I did not choose to lose my father. I didn't. And whether or not my soul chose, that's not the freaking point, because I'm here now and I'm suffering in pain, and where the hell are you to give me a freaking hug and validate my feelings and stop victim blaming me and stop making me believe that it was my fault, that I had to do something in order to get what I always wanted, which was love. But the thing that I am learning, not only learning, but actually beginning to experience on a level of my nervous system trusting this, which, like, thank you, God, because this is something that I prayed for. What I'm learning is that my responsibility is to show up within my capacity again, to keep chipping away at my dreams. Not to chase, not to perform, to dress how I want to dress for myself, to paint my nails because I feel like it, okay? To show up as I am with the energy that I have, and devote myself to my work and my life. And in doing that, I render myself receptive to what God has for me. So if you're trying to change your life, start by embodying and being the person that God is calling you to be. And when I say God, I mean follow the nudges that your soul is showing you. Especially if you're a woman, this is something that my ladies need to hear, especially ladies who have been through a lot of trauma and, might struggle with loss of control or loss of identity or whatever. You deserve a fairy tale life as much as the person who was raised by loving parents and who has the things that you don't, such as maybe a more rhythmic, stable life, or a stable relationship, or less pain. I don't know. But I want you to really hear this and know this, that you don't need to chase or perform the people and the things that are meant to be in your life. And I think that because your trauma trained you to chase and to control, if that program is running subconsciously in your life and you think that you need to control and chase, you're just going to keep pushing away what is for you because you're focused on chasing something that is not actually, like, if you sat back, you already are a magnet to your deepest desires. You are, period. And when you sit back and you stay in your divine lane and you stay devoted to your life purpose and your mission, your work, and you show up and you put your faith into action on a day-to-day basis, and you do your humble thing. What is it? I don't know if it's a story of Ruth and Boaz or whatever. Like, she's like tending a field or something, and she's literally just showing up and like watering camels because she had compassion in her heart and she was moved to take care of the camels and to like tend the field or whatever. And her husband found her and said to his servant or something, "Bring her to me, she is my wife." She wasn't performing. She wasn't trying to meet her husband. She wasn't trying to attract care, stability, foundations, whatever. She wasn't trying to do that. She was just obeying God. She was just living in a godly way. And when I say godly, I mean a way that's aligned with divine values: compassion, trust, patience, humility, devotion. And when you actually act in those ways, you don't need to do anything else. And that's something that I just now am understanding on a body level. Like I never learned that when I was younger, but I just learned it now. And like today especially, it just blew my mind. It just really brought this wisdom home for me. And it reminded me that as long as you dreamer who dream of receiving certain things in your life, who maybe never got those things, as long as you are doing what your soul calls you to do and not forcing anything, but listening to the path of your soul, you don't need to lift a finger otherwise, because you are receptive when you're in communion with God, when you're in communion with your soul. You are receptive. So the things that are meant for you, they're going to come. They're going to come. And it's like, it's so hard to believe for the people like me who before certain examples, I never had proof. I never had proof that I was going to finally feel loved, finally feel recognized, finally feel seen for the person that I am. And you know what's funny? When I stopped chasing it, I literally gave up chasing it. Like, and I started to really in this past year, I stopped looking for it in places where it just wasn't really flowing really easily. And I stopped going to certain events or hang out in certain communities where the people were more focused on like spiritual posturing and performance, and it was just fake. It was shiny on the outside, and I always made these like electric, short-lived, fiery, explosive kind of connections, but it was never sustainable, and it never like gave me in my life the kind of routine, ritualistic, stable, secure connections that I longed for, that also gave me room to experience those occasional highs of passion and connection and exuberance and whatever. And so I stopped going to those communities altogether because it was like the cost of what I wasn't getting, the cost of staying and like spending my energy on these people, places, things that were like almost fully it for me was greater than leaving them behind and opening myself to a new idea of community and connection. And now that I'm like actively, literally on a day-to-day basis, my habits and my actions and my decisions and the work that I do is aligned with what my soul is trying to create, my videos, my writing, my messages, my lifestyle, my relationships, the places that I go, I'm no longer going to the old communities and things that like used to light me up, and I'm no longer compromising my values. Like, I wasn't compromising my values before, but I'm no longer hanging out around people who fundamentally clash with my values. Like I, for example, I'm sober. I've never done drugs or anything like that. I have had a handful of experiences with psychedelics in my life, like 3 or 4 times. I smoked weed for medical reasons as a teenager, and it actually saved my life one time. In other words, I had a 4-week constant migraine, and the first time I smoked weed to relieve it, it was the first relief I felt in months, and Advil was not working, and I didn't have the, medical support that I have now, and I barely get headaches anymore. That's a whole other topic of conversation. But I used to hang out in these communities where people would just like do drugs to connect with, God. And not that there's anything that is wrong with that for those people, but the thing is that I'm not that person. I have a direct, immediate connection with God instantly. God's in my back pocket. God's in my voice. God's in my eyes. God is in front of me. God is the air that I breathe. I'm a spiritual, sensitive person. I'm super psychic, super intuitive. And all of that is just a no-brainer for me. The connection with the interconnectivity of everything, that is so obvious to me, and that's always been so obvious. So it's not even a second thought for me. So instead of spending time trying to force depth or connection or understanding, or trying to figure out how to present myself or what to build or what to create in order for people to recognize me, it was just such a waste of energy, because I have a different relationship with these values, with my relationship with God, my spirituality, my relationship with substances. It's like I have a very, very, very unique set of values and traits and stuff that I wasn't going to find like an equivalent to in certain communities. So I grievously, heartbrokenly, bittersweetly left behind these communities where people who had a lot of traits that I do love and admire, like a lot of the people who would do drugs to commune with God or whatever, they were also such improvisational, theatrical, gremlin, silly, bold, like unafraid to be seen, to be visible types of people. And I love that. And I am that in the right context. And so it was really, really scary and really hard to leave behind these spaces where I would meet people who had those things that I deeply resonated with. They're fundamentally parts of who I am. I love being visible. I love being seen. I am a very fiery person, and I kind of I flirt with life when I feel safe and comfortable and seen. And with these people, I could share that energy. But again, I decided to leave it behind because I could not relate fundamentally. I felt isolated. I felt alone. I felt almost unseen in some ways, because a lot of these people would get together and do drugs together and have these experiences that were sacred in their own right, but it didn't align with me at all. Another thing too is that I consider myself a religious person. I was not raised on dogma. I don't have religious trauma. I'm Jewish, but Judaism was never imposed or forced on me. And in fact, Judaism is so special to me because, Jews, generally I've seen are encouraged to have their own relationship and dialogue and questioning of the Torah. We read the Torah and we don't take it for face value, because if we did, we would be living in archaic times. We'd be living in Sarah and what's her husband's name? I forget. We would be living in, archaic times. And we would be doing animal sacrifices and crazy, crazy, crazy things and putting our kids up on chopping blocks, whatever. I don't know if you know the stories of early Abrahamic, Sarah and Abraham. That's what the Abrahamic archaic time, so anyway, I'm monogamous. I am a religious person. I love God, and I'm also a freaky, very, very weird artist. And I have a liberal spirit, but I absolutely hate politics. And I was raised by a conservative family, and I just have very different fundamental values and views to a lot of the world that I originally found myself in. So again, another overarching theme of this message today is show up to be who you are. Speak to your people. Be who you are. And do not be afraid of the unknown. Oh my God, this makes me think I need to make a support group for people going on their own path, because I did this alone for the most part. I had support and blips of things here and there, literally daily bread. I had enough to get me from breath to breath to breath. There were so many weeks, months, especially this year, back to back, more than I've ever experienced in my life, where I didn't know how I was going to survive emotionally. There were times that I thought that I was at the edge of insanity, because I was stretched so far beyond my own human limitations to sustain a semblance of emotional okayness, because of the trauma that I was surviving and healing from, and also because of the life that I was trying to create. I think of this Instagram reel. I'm going to wrap this up soon. I think of an Instagram reel where, if you've seen it, you'll know what I'm talking about. But if you haven't, it's basically an animated little video where there's two patches of grass on a sidewalk in a neighborhood, and they're separated by a driveway. One patch of grass is dead and dry, whatever, and another one is green and has a sprinkler that waters the grass. So there's a dandelion on the dry grass, and he sees his neighbors all, moisturized and happy and free and hydrated. So he uproots himself and he walks across the pavement to this island of grass where Bounty lives. He walks and walks, and every step he takes, you see the steam of moisture evaporate from his body. And so he's slowly dying, and he gets so weak he collapses just right as he's at the edge of the garden, and he doesn't make it. He dies. But what happens is he goes to seed. He dies and he goes to seed, and then all his seeds spread on the grass, and he propagates like millions of happy dandelions again. Comfort zones and wanting to stay in your comfort zones, it's so valid, because it's like that's the version of the dandelion who would have stayed in the dead grass. He would have stayed in the dead grass and he would have died. He would have died either way, but he chose. Like, the thing is, you're gonna die either way, and you're going to face your fears either way. You know, you're going to be afraid either way. You're going to have to let go and grieve either freaking way. And as a trauma survivor who has lost everything multiple times, I know this. And I'm here to encourage you that you can. God will restore you. God will restore you. And there were days, months on end where I didn't believe that. I didn't believe it. I couldn't fathom it. But somehow I chose to keep on walking, because like the dandelion, it was better for me to move towards a vision that I could imagine. Green grass, hydration, community, wealth, health. It was better for me. The payoff of my metaphorical dehydration, as if I'm that dandelion, the payoff of that dehydration was worth the sacrifice of my life, going to this greener pastures, the grass is greener on the other side, or whatever. The pain and the discomfort and the fear and my life, my energy was worth pursuing this vision more than it was staying in place and rotting there and dying, and giving my seeds, my legacy, less of an opportunity to reach where they were destined to reach. Damn, this was so packed, so jam-packed. Final messages. I'm going to pull one more and then I'm going to end this. We have the Queen of Swords. And it came out reversed, but I wanted to put it upright. You could be in an era where you are finally seeing the truth. You are finally learning to wield the sword of truth that cuts through illusions. Look, this woman is literally an embodiment of destroying the ego. She has a head over here. This doesn't mean literal murder. In Tibetan Buddhism, you see symbolism of ego death depicted by like cut off heads or like garlands of heads, because the head or the mind represents the ego, the self. So you are ready to cut through illusions, cut through lies, face the truth, speak the truth, live the truth. And this energy is going to take you far. And then on the bottom of the deck is the Eight of Cups. It's okay to grieve. And you know what? It's like, as exciting as my message was, my excitement, my passion, it doesn't erase the reality that it is so... Sometimes the journey from the dry patch of grass, dead grass, to greener pastures feels so emotionally eviscerating that all you can do is collapse. So here's what I'm going to encourage you with that Knight of Pentacles thing that I was saying. I kept saying in this message, devote yourself to your dreams. What was that, a hair? Did you see that? There was like a little fuzz that just went by. I think it was a fuzz. Or a ghosty or something. I don't know. Anyway, there are going to be the days when you face your fears and you actually have nothing in you, and maybe you have no support except for the breath in your lungs. Don't take that for granted. Or the floor underneath you. God is there. God is there. keeping you alive somehow. And I know it feels like torture. And I don't know there's no way to make that okay, but I'm here to just tell you that I've been there and I see you in that. And I want to just encourage you, if you're going through something like that, even if it's not as painful, if you feel emotionally eviscerated in any sense of the words, buy yourself an ice cream. If you have people who are in your circle, you can reach out to them, but I know that's not always the case. I didn't have people for a long time. And I cried alone for so long. And I still do sometimes, even though I'm slowly starting to build, more support around me in these different ways. But what I'm encouraging the shit out of you right now. Please do not give up on yourself. Do not give up. Your testimonies are going to blow people's minds. If you're not doing this for yourself, do it for future generations. Do it for someone that you love that you haven't met yet. Do it for the version of you that is living those dreams, And I just want to send you so much deep, motherly love if you're going through something like that. Because again, there's no erasing how eviscerating it feels to go through hell, to walk through your own version of hell. So when you're in that really, really, really hard, low point, just forget your plans, forget everything else, and please just give yourself permission to collapse. Because sometimes that's what needs to happen. And a lot of people underestimate what it takes to survive trauma. And it's like the dandelion thing. He was going to die uncomfortably in the dirt, but he wanted better. So he got up and walked across the hot pavement to go pursue better. And sometimes life really is that hard, and there's no band-aid or no nothing that we can do or say to fix it or to make it easier, to make it better. So the fact that you're even trying, or that you've even done so much, and now you have no energy left, you gotta wait till it comes back to you a little bit to do the next thing. The fact that that is what you're experiencing is just a testament to your resilience and your strength and your amazingness. And you don't need to prove anything, okay? I'm gonna end it there. You don't need to prove anything. Give yourself permission to collapse. And let people think what they want to think. And give yourself permission to protect yourself and to hide when you need to. Sometimes we need to go through hermit phases in our lives. Sometimes we actually need to give up. And there's no shame in that. And there's no shame in, I'm not encouraging killing yourself, but there's no shame in the reality that you might feel suicidal, because I felt suicidal, especially when I was 16. Growing up with a narcissist, no support, whatever, everything kind of dawned on me and I realized everything, and I was like, yeah, I never actually had the desire to kill myself, because I thought, no, sunsets are too beautiful for that. I mean, that's my experience. And I always felt connected to God. I always felt connected to beauty and nature and subtlety. I always had communion with those things where I didn't get it with people. So I felt a deep spiritual connection my whole life, always, to nature and just within my own self. So I was like, no, I've already seen and known too much beauty to want to give that up. But I know that my family's fucked up, my mom is fucked up, and I have no support, and I am struggling. And so, yes, I am shutting down in a way, because this is too much for any human to carry on their own. We live in weird freaking times. We don't live in tribal villages anymore. We don't have, armies of people to support us. We're not a part of big groups of people in our Western culture. So the fact that you want to collapse, it's your biology. It's natural. It's okay. Collapse. It's okay to acknowledge that maybe your therapist isn't good enough for you. Maybe your parent, your family doesn't know how to listen to you. They don't know how to hear you. And that's real. You gotta acknowledge that. Don't be afraid of the truth. And I'm telling you this to validate you, because I've been in countless situations where I felt so freaking lonely, isolated, because I have had bad therapists, I've had bad friends, I've had bad family, I've been treated terribly in workplaces, I've been treated bad in school, I've been ostracized, isolated, abused, institutionalized, medically neglected. I've been through it all, it's not all, but it's a lot. I've been through all of that. So I just want to validate you and encourage you that I see you and I love you. I love you there in a heap on the floor with no energy. I will love you as long as you have no energy to do anything, and I will love you when you get back up, and I will love you when you fall again, and I will love you when you get back up again, and I'll love you when you fall again. So I just want the world to know someone is out there who loves you and sees you in that, because I didn't have that when I was in that place. But just because you're collapsing doesn't mean that you're giving up on your dreams and that you're not going to get back what you need. But when you have the energy, continue, even if it's just one breath or one blink of an eye, to get you to the next step in your dreams. As long as you keep going that way, it's going to come back. I swear to you it will. Okay? That's all I have for you. I love you so much. If you want to book a personal reading with me, you can check out the info for that in my description. And until then, I will see you next time. Mwah.